all sons of equal bulk and equal flame, with that which rules the world from whence I came. All glorious centers whose attractive sway revolving moons and wandering worlds obey. Each is a globe immense, each is a source of day. Sir Richard Blackmore, 1712. Hello and welcome to the Natural History Project podcast. My name is Jason Brogdon and I am the Dean of Science Instruction for Founders Classical Academies. The Natural History Project is a grant-funded project meant to focus on urban ecology and field research with K through 12 students in our classical schools. But more than just urban ecology or environmental studies, the name of the project is called the Natural History Project, and natural history has a deeper history, a bigger meaning, and a broader scope than just ecology or environmental research. Natural history also encompasses science and religion, art, political history, historical figures, and it has a real exchange with a number of disciplines like literature and other fields that make it really rich and meaningful and kind of a nice decoration and add-on to the more technical aspects of ecology. And before I do any episodes on student interviews or, environmental sound recordings or conversations with professors and scientists, I actually wanted to create a mini-series, if you will, a number of short episodes about a concept that I learned from the chemist Robert Boyle. Robert Boyle was an Oxford professor, and he actually is considered the father of modern chemistry. And one of the concepts that he popularized and focused on in his immediate context was the idea of the scientist as a priest of creation. And this right away introduces us to the concept that natural history is more complex than just urban ecology. And I think that's okay because complexity is more interesting. So as we begin to deeply consider a number of aspects of the scientist as a priest of creation, I wanted to initiate our journey with a song, a poem, to highlight key elements for further expansion. Science, to me, is a powerful source and certainly dignified for use in poetry, though there aren't many scientific poems out today. But as a matter of fact, harmony of prose is more pleasing to many than just a mere essay. In the 17th century, poets were actually using science to defend religion. So just think about that concept for a second, that poets were using science to defend religion from, secularism or materialism or atheism. And they were doing it with a sublimity that made it easier for the followers of Newtonianism to continue the old themes with a new zest and new examples from the newer science. So this was a really popular move because modern science as we know it was a new endeavor. The concepts, the laws and theories and wordings were new to a lot of people. And so poets grabbed hold of these terms and concepts and made them popular not only for the scientists themselves, but for what you might consider non-science majors of the day, regular folk who were very interested but needed access or entry points. Historically, poems centered on creation, meaning the biblical creation as recorded in the Bible. And these poems were freer in their sublime nature and typically focused on God calling order out of disorder, which was exactly what the new science was explaining and doing. The other concept that they focused on besides the creation was what was known as the last judgment in the book of Revelation, when all natural laws are seemingly dissolved. So they focused on the establishment of order and then the dissolution of that order inspired by the biblical text. In this short intro, I'd like to highlight and recommend Blackmore's The Creation, a philosophical poem in 7 books written in 1712. And I recommend it for reading. It's actually pretty short, even though it says 7 books. It's pretty short, and you can get it public access as a PDF. But I recommend it as an inspiration for the call or need for a contemporary expression of the natural world as a created thing, as a creation, through academically what was known as a physico-theological poem or a natural theological poem, due to its beauty, forgotten logic, its integrated nature, and emphasis of the origin of order coupled with its dissolution, highlighting what's known as its contingent essence. So science does a great job explaining things, of course, but one of the things it is not explained is why it can explain. So that's what I'd like to at least introduce in this first episode. And so I quote Sir Richard Blackmore again. "See how the earth has gained that very place, which of all others in boundless space is most convenient and will best conduce to the wise ends required for nature's use. You, who the mind and cause supreme deny, nor on his aid to for the world rely, must grant had perfect wisdom been employed to find through all the interminable void a seat most proper, and which is best became the earth and sea, it must have been the fame." Book 1, page 8. Job, in the book of Job, even articulates and describes the stars, the celestial bodies, singing along with choirs of angels at the creation. The Stoics in Greek philosophy often quoted and referred to the entire earth, the entire planet, as the temple of the gods. This is a fundamental, deep, and powerful integration that I want to bring back up in the 21st century. It is a powerful initial concept of framing the natural setting of science, not just as a system of chance operations, but more like a temple lab of sorts, where development and cultivation become the central activities. In Oxford, Professor John Lennox, quoting the philosopher Richard Swinburne, elaborated this way: "I am not postulating a God of the gaps God merely to explain things science has not yet explained. I'm postulating a God to explain why science explains. I do not deny that science explains. The very success of science in showing us how deeply ordered the natural world is provides strong grounds for believing that there is an even deeper cause for that order." That is in John Lennox's book, Cosmic Chemistry, page 113. And so an atheistic scientist would have to use order to explain away the need for intentional ordering. And this is why I think that the emphasis on randomization and chance have become such a debate, because it's something that is now being dispelled in short order. And these are terms to be dealt with in maybe the next couple of episodes. Another concept I'd like to introduce and bring up here in this kind of first episode for us is anti-entropic tendencies. So entropy is a well-understood concept in science where something goes, say, from what's considered a highly ordered situation to a more disordered situation. Water in a glass is contained in that glass, and it has a shape and a volume, and if you pour it out all over the table, the force of gravity causes it to pour out of the glass, and it spreads all over the table into kind of a uniform, flat, mess, if you will. Another example would be a sandcastle on a beach that someone made, highly ordered system, very decorative and elaborate. And over time, wind and waves will bring that back down to just regular sand with all the other sand on the beach to a more uniform state. So that's a basic metaphor examples of what entropy is. And that's the way the universe as a whole is viewed, that it goes from a highly ordered state in the Big Bang and spreads out and will eventually cool down and all become the same. But the problem with that, though I'm not denying entropy, is that along the way, as the water is poured out, if you will, we see greater and greater examples of complexity, order, emergent properties like galaxies, solar systems, stars, heavy elements, planets with satellites, planets with chemistry, planets with life, and a planet with increasingly complex life, multicellular, intelligent. This is not just a highly ordered system becoming more uniform. It's a highly ordered system on its way downstream, becoming even more complex, more ordered, absorbing energy, collecting matter, even temporarily. So the anti-entropic tendencies in nature will be something to return to, say, in the next episode. But I just wanted to highlight the concept that Robert Boyle raised when he talked about the concept of natural laws. We'll go into more in depth, but he basically asked, what is a law? How can an inanimate object like an atom or water obey a law like gravity? And this hints at the idea of what is really going on. Is the material universe obeying a law or a lawgiver? Or is that a relationship? Is that a rule? What is meant by the four fundamental laws, say, of the cosmos? Could stupid atoms with impetuous speed by different roads and adverse ways proceed, from regions opposite begin their flight, that here they might rencounter, here unite? What charms could these terrestrial vagrants see in this one point of all immensity, that all the enamored troops should thither flow, did they its useful situation know? And when the squadrons with a swift career had reached that point, why did they settle there, when nothing checked their flight but gulfs of air? Book 1, page 9. So I'd like to end this particular and brief introduction to this beautiful scientific poem regarding nature as creation on a more personal and emotional question from Blackmore. He asks in Book 1, page 10, you say the nature of things is so, but how does this relieve the inquirer's pain? Or how the dark impulsive power explain? What he's asking there, or stating in a way, is that science is built on inquiry, on asking questions. But why? He calls the curiosity, the inquiry, the question itself as a type of pain, as a dark impulsive power that needs explanation. So why inquire? The book of Job in 12 verse 7 mentions, ask the animals and they will teach you. But teach you what? And be honest. What is the question? What is the concern? What do you want to know? May I hypothesize and suggest that if humans were intentionally and originally designated to be priests of creation in a large global temple, then perhaps anything short of that, even by a small degree, will result in a lack of clarity, confusion, and, well, in Blackmore's wording, pain. Give them the situation they desire, but let us then, ye sages, next inquire. What cause of their cohesion can you find? What props support? What chains the fabric bind? How vain the man with wit and learning crowned, how feeble all his strength when he essays to trace dark nature and detect her ways, unless he calls its author to his aid, who every secret spring of motion laid, who over all his wondrous works presides, and to their useful ends their causes guides. These paths in vain are by inquirers trod. There is no philosophy without a God. Book 1, page 12 and 20. So this is just a thought, and we'll keep moving in future episodes. My name is Jason Brogdon, recording for Founders Classical Academy on January 23rd, 2025. All images that are used by permission from the University of Oklahoma History of Science Collections. Thanks for listening.